What's up, everybody? We're back here on FreeCodeCamp.org. I'm going to go to the curriculum page and check out the Try Coding Challenge of the day. If you go to the archive, you go back to August 12th. That's the problem we're doing right here in this video, and it's called base check. Given a string representing a number and an integer base from 2 to 36, determine whether the number is valid in that base. So this is the number we're getting, n, and this base parameter is a number that represents the number system that n is based in. If you see in the examples, we have binary, that's base 2. We have octal, that's base 8. Our normal everyday counting numbers is base 10. And then we have larger bases that include letters. And I think the constraints describe that. So the first constraint is the string may contain integers and uppercase or lowercase letters. So that's our n variable. It's a string. The check should be case insensitive. The base can be any number 2 through 36. So that's this guy right here. Our base parameter can be between 2 and 36. A number is valid if every character is a valid digit in the given base. And here it gives us the examples of what is included in these base number systems. I can see two different ways to solve this, and I think we'll start with the easier way. The easiest way I can imagine is using parseInt. And by easy, I mean leaning on the functions provided by JavaScript to do the work for us, because we could do the work to interpret this stuff, and that'll be our second solution. But our first solution here is just going to be leaning on parseInt first. So at the center of our solution, we have parseInt. You can just do like a trial run to look at this. If we parse this, let's see, I think parseInt, if we hand it a string, it only looks at the first character. Like down here, if we have, for instance, 10101, our first test case, and we give it to parseInt and pass it the base, which is going to be 2, then this will be fine because the number 1 is part of the base 2 number system. And I should say this is a true or false. So isNaaN is another method we can lean on here, which checks to see if what is put into it is not a number, nan. So if you've never seen this before, NaN is something that can be returned from operations where you tried to do something and whatever you were trying to do should have probably resulted in a number, but due to what you put into it, it ended up not being a number. And that's all that the system can tell you, really. And that should be isNaaN, sorry. isNaaN, the result of parsing this int, that's going to be true or false. So if I console that out, it is false. That means it is a number. But if I put a 2, or let's even say a 5, in the first character here, we get a true. We get a true value because parsing the number represented by this string in this base, that is not a number. I'm going to double check that I'm correct in my assumption that it only parses the first character in the string and by putting the 5 into the center of the string. And yeah, we have false here, which means that it is interpreting this as a number, which it shouldn't. And that's because when you run parseInt, it only looks at the first character. I think I got that point across. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to iterate through the n string. And if that n at index I in that base is not a number, we'll want to return false from the function, return false here. So this is like the simple answer. So what's going on here? We're iterating through the string that represents the number we have to check out from beginning to end. And for each character, we are attempting to parse it as an integer in the provided base number system. You can pass strings to parseInt without a second parameter, and it just assumes you mean base 10. And it says, be careful, this does not always default to 10. The description below explains in more detail what happens when the radix is not provided. Yeah, that does it for the simple solution. Let's consider, and you're all, confetti, yay, okay. Neat. That's the solution I did when I solved this before. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy. But I know we can go through not using parseInt, maybe even not using NaaN, and be able to determine if this is a valid number, because we have these constraints. And you see how in base 2, if each character is either 0 or 1, cool, we pass. If it's anything else than that, we fail. And if it's base 8, then if any character in the string is from 0 to 7, cool, we pass. If not, we fail it. And you could start to see the pattern. As the base of the number system increases, so does the window of valid numbers and characters that could be in the string for it to pass. So I think you see here maybe that a lot of these challenges, there's probably a really easy kind of simple way to do it if you know about these functions provided by JavaScript. If you don't, then you're going to end up getting practice iterating through things, writing loops, checking conditionals, and testing your ability to turn concepts into those structures. And I think that's a valuable thing. I don't think it's a waste of time. Like, we're not sitting here trying to race through coding challenges. This isn't a competition, and it's not, you're not in the competitive programming championship right now. You're in the learn how to code better and understand concepts better so that you can be more useful in your job, So with that, we are iterating through each item in the n string. And just in a simple way, we can consider, okay, if the base is equal to 2, we can do separate conditionals, and we can look at the index here. If the index is greater than 1 or less than 0, we can keep a running variable called valid. It'll start off being false. No, it'll start off being true. And we will, less than or equal to 1, greater than or equal to 0, valid. No, I guess it has to stop in the middle. So, okay. Return what I had before, greater than 1 or less than 0. And that's our failing statement. So if any character in the string, if the base is 2, if any character in the string is greater than 1 or less than 0, you're going to want to return false. And then we can do that for each of these characters. Because if it's base 8, then what? We're going to have the same kind of window here, right? And I'm starting to see a pattern we can use to cut down on this code. Because right now we're going to have a whole bunch of conditionals that are roughly doing the same thing until we get to letters. So that's base 10, base 16, base 36. So here's base 10. If it's, I guess the integer can't be greater than 9. So how do we check for that? Greater than 9 is a letter. So that brings up an interesting concept, because right now this is how the number system works. Number values right? We have 1, 2, 3, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then it gets to A, B, C, D, E, F, and all the way through the alphabet, really. So that's from left to right is the value of our characters, where you get all the way to Z. A Z means 36, right? An A means 10. So, I mean, I can see a way where each character is checked with a loop going out into this space, and if it can't iterate past the base number. If it does, then it's false. Yeah, it's kind of ugly, but I think that might be better. So we are iterating on the base value for let j equals 0, j equals 0, semicolon, j is less than base. Base, yeah, base, less than 36, including a 0. And so we are iterating on the base, and we are going up in the number values. If so I'm going to think a second. So if n at index I, let's say that is if n at index I is a 2, we want to return false if the base is 2. So really we could take a substring of the number values string. Yeah, so number values substring from the beginning up to the base, right? How can I test that really quick? Number values substring from 0 to base. I'm just going to console that out with like setting the base to 16 to make sure we're getting base 16 ends at F, and that's our substring that we just took. So that means this is going to be pretty easy. Realizing that, we just have to check to see if n at I is included in this substring. Or we, on the other hand, we can say if it's not included in the substring, return false. So there you go. Not too much harder to do this, and I'm speaking before I really prove that this is okay. So it's not happy. Oh, with case insensitivity. So I just have to probably set this to uppercase. Forgot about that little thing. And ta-da! Daily coding challenge 100% complete. So, just to recap that little alternate solution there, it requires us to stand up this string of the number values represented from smallest to largest in the base number systems up to 36. We iterate through every character in the string, and then we use that number values string up to the base value, up to the highest number in that number system. And then we just check to see if that string includes the character at n sub I, and we make sure to set that to uppercase because I set all these letters to uppercase. If it's included, cool, that means it's part of that number system. You know, it's one of those values. If this was base 16, n sub I is one of those values in that string, and we're good. That means it's that individual digit is a valid number, so we can continue to check the next one. If not, though, if it's not included in that string, we return false because if any one character in the string is not part of that number system, then it's not a valid number. So I hope you learned a little something from that. I'm going to be trying to speed up these explanations and not babble so much. So I'm sorry. I enjoy talking about code. I assume if you're watching these videos, you enjoy learning about code and learning about the little silly things that I have rattling around in my brain up there. But comment below if you want these videos to be faster and more to the point. I'm happy to do it, and it would be probably good practice for me not to babble so much. But my goal is maybe to get these videos down to like 15 minutes, but we'll see how long this one is. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you found this at all valuable, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and I will talk at you later.